Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and I absolutely hope that you enjoy today's spiritual message. You know, we at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center are committed to helping people live better lives. We're going to provide you tools over and over, spiritual tools that allow you to live your best possible life. And if you want to leave a donation to continue to allow the work that we do to support other people just like you, we say thank you. Thank you for your generosity, because this ministry is committed to making the world a better place. All right, so we are on week 2, right? How many of you were, that's all right. So we are on week 2 of a 5-week series on Thrive, right? And the whole idea in this series is that instead of focusing on all the balls out here, right, we're actually going to focus on our center. We're going to focus on our essence. Because what usually happens when we have a desire for the new year is we put all the energy out here and all the pieces, like can I get my finances, my job, or whatever, and we focus on the externals, and we don't really take a deeper step inward. And what we want to do this year is we want to work on the things that are the most important. We actually want to work on your soul, because if your soul is healthy and full, your life's going to be good. If you're running on empty, you're going to be running out of gas before we get to March, right? And so what I want you to really look at is what would it take in your life for you to thrive? And what we worked on last week, we've worked on really well-being. And there was 3 things. There were 3 points I made last week. And the first one is that for our soul to thrive, we need to have a prayer life. We need to be meditating on a regular basis. We need to be spending 10, 15, 20 minutes a day really downloading the divine and really getting filled up. Then the next point was that there's the scientific evidence on sleep is incredible. And the idea of just increasing our hour of sleep, if we just 1 more hour, 2 more hours of sleep, really makes all the difference in the world, that many of us are so sleep deprived that we just need more sleep. And the third thing is we need to move more. So it was really meditate more, sleep more, and move more, right? Because those are the things over and over again that have the biggest impact on our soul, so that our soul really gets to be filled up. How many of you know that if you're not exercising on a regular basis, you begin to feel it in your life? It just happens, right? And the same way with sleep. How many of you know that you need to get more sleep than you're getting right now? Great. And the one that you always hear me talking about, how many of you know you need to spend more time in prayer and meditation to really get the life that you want this year? Great. Okay? So on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to ask yourself the question, how much is my soul thriving right now? Like right today, right in this moment, if you were to give yourself a score from 1 to 10, is your soul full? Are you empty? Where are you? Where's your soul right now? If you tell yourself the truth, are you a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10? How many of you think that you're a 7 or higher? How many think you're a 5 or lower? We are going to work on you. All right? Because the idea is you cannot live a great life if your soul is not full. You don't have the energy, you don't have the drive, you cannot have a great life if you're running on empty. As I said last week, the only difference between a car that's on full and a car that's on empty is how far it can go. Right? That's the only difference. And if your soul's on empty, you're not going to get very far into this year. So I want you actually to be 7, 8, 9, 10. I want you right here. I want you in that sweet spot that every day you feel full. That every day when you get up, you're actually downloading the divine so that you feel full, so that you're ready for that day. So that we're not running out of gas halfway through the day. Right? That you're actually full. So tonight we're going to talk about the idea that when we look at the soul, and this is a scientific drawing of your soul. Yes, it does look exactly like that, right? So when we look at your soul, one of the gifts of your soul is wisdom, right? That when your soul is fed, there's an I there. When your soul is fed, one of the things that your soul produces over and over again is the wisdom that you need to live the life you want to live. So part of thriving is that you're actually connected to your soul in such a way that you're accessing the deeper of level of wisdom that you need to live a great life. How many of you wish that you had more wisdom and guidance from time to time? How many of you ever feel stuck in a decision? Right? Over and over again, what I'm going to invite you to look at is when your soul is full, wisdom is really much easier to access. When your soul is not full, wisdom is tough because you feel like you're so alone, but your soul is just too empty to produce the level of wisdom you need for the life that you want to live. So tonight what we're going to focus on is this idea of wisdom. This is the second section in the book by Ariana Huffington called Thrive. I love this book. I love this book. The opening quote she gives is, "The endless cycle of idea and action, endless invention, endless experiment brings knowledge of motion, but nothing of stillness. Knowledge of speech, but not of silence. Knowledge of words and the ignorance of the word. Where there is life, but we have lost the living. Where is the wisdom when we have lost the knowledge? And where in the knowledge have we was lost in information?" It's from T.S. Eliot. And she makes the point here is that from her Greek background, that wisdom was always seen as what? Do you know? How many of you anybody read this chapter, this section? How many of you know Greek mythology? Athena. And Athena is masculine or feminine? Feminine, right? So one of the things we want to look at is Athena is accessing the goddess of wisdom. That the feminine side of us is where we touch wisdom. That when we connect with our soul over and over again, it is that wisdom that we need to go forward. There's this quote, I want to share it with you. It's hers, Ariana Huffington's. "Today we need Athena wisdom more than ever. She breathes into our soul and our compassion, and is exactly what is missing into the traditional masculine world of work and success. Her emergence, fully armed and independent from Zeus's head, and her total ease in the practical world of men. Whether on the battlefield or in the affairs of the city, her initiative, creativity, her passion for the law, justice, and politics, they all serve to remind us that creation and action are inherently natural to women as they are to men. Women tend to leave behind the deeper aspects of themselves in order to thrive in the male-dominated world. In fact, women, and men too, need to reclaim the intrinsic strength that we have to tap into our inner wisdom and redefine success." Right? How many, can you think of a place in your life where you thought to succeed that you had to become more of something that you didn't feel like you were? Right? And so we push into these parts of ourselves that actually where we were best off at is if we stayed in our strengths. You know, I did a healing weekend last weekend, and one of the things we talked about is what happens when we move into enlightenment. And especially by gender, right? So when the feminine moves into enlightenment, the unenlightened feminine tends to be very emotional. You don't have to raise your hand, right? And when the feminine moves into enlightenment, it moves from emotion to intuition, right? When the masculine moves into enlightenment, the unenlightened masculine tends to be very controlling. Have you all seen evidence of an unenlightened man being very controlling, right? So when you look at the relationships of your 20s, can you see emotion and control over and over again? Right? It's not a dig on people in their 20s, but, you know, it tends to be where we are. But when the enlightened man, the enlightened masculine, moves into enlightenment, he moves from control to service. And then he actually begins to serve the intuition of the enlightened feminine. And what I want you to see today is over and over again, I can show you examples of that enlightened masculine and that enlightened feminine, that when they move into their enlightened place, there's a balance that's created. And over again, what I want you to see is this applies not only in relationships, but it implies in us. Right? So is your inner masculine the one that's still driving your life? Or is it your inner enlightened feminine that is your place of intuition? Because when your inner masculine really feels the intuition of the divine feminine within you, everything begins to work at a higher level, because now intuition is the most important thing in your life, and everything wants to serve that. And we see this transformation happening in our world right now. We had over 100 new women go into Congress this year, right? We're watching over and over again as we move into more and more of an enlightened state of consciousness. What happened is the masculine actually enjoys serving intuition, because then he gets to go play, right? That women by design, I just said it, all right, tend to hold a more holistic view than sometimes men do. I was talking to a woman yesterday who was talking about her husband was taking down the Christmas lights. And she was sharing how he didn't think 2 steps ahead, and when he unhooked them, they all came crashing down. Now, I know that he's the only man that would ever do that. Right? But I have to be honest with you, I saw a little bit of myself in that, right? Because as men, we sometimes want to do it the easiest, straightest way, and don't always put all the pieces together. You don't have to raise your hand, men, but for some of us, we're going to identify with that. Well, it surprises some women that we don't think that 3 steps ahead, because they just naturally do. So as we move into our intuitive self, we begin to move into greater and greater levels of connection. Let me go one more. Marcus Aurelius said this: true understanding is to see the events of life in this way. You are here for my benefit, though rumor paints you otherwise. And everything is turned to one's advantage when we greet a situation like this. You are the very thing I was looking for. Now, I want you to think of anything in your life right now that you're in resistance to. Does everybody have at least one thing you've been in resistance to already this year? Right? Does everybody have at least one thing? Okay, so I want you to greet your life with this way: that you are the very thing that I've been looking for. Will you say that with me? You are the very thing I've been looking for. All right, now, see, it's actually fun, all right? So think about something that you don't want in your life that's there anyway. Does everybody have at least one? You are the very thing that I've been looking for. Together? You are the very thing I've been looking for. Now, does your soul believe that? Yes. Yes, it does. Your soul knows that's true because your soul helped create it. Your intellect doesn't believe it. Your personality doesn't believe it. Your ego doesn't believe it. But your soul knows that that very thing that just came knocking in your door that you didn't want was the very thing that your soul needed so that you can expand into a greater experience of life. So your personality is at odds with a deeper level of truth. Okay? Let me go further, because you're going to like this even more. You are the very thing that I've been looking for. Truly, whatever rises in life is the real material to bring forth your growth and the growth of those around you. How many of you can see that when you have a great growth opportunity, and that's what we should all call them, great growth opportunities. When you have a great growth opportunity, the people around you get a secondary benefit from your learning. Is that true? That's true. How many of you have had a friend that's really gone through a hard time and has come out the other side, and you were so inspired by the way they lived it that you made a commitment to live your life more like that? I have. How many of you have ever watched somebody go through something and go, you know, either I don't want to do it that way, Does everybody have a friend that's like, I don't want to do it that way, right? Or I really want to do it that way. And to bring forth growth and growth in those around us. This, in a word, is art. And this art called life is a practice suitable to both men and gods. Everything contains some special purpose, a hidden blessing, that when it could be strange or arduous, when all of life is here to greet you like an old friend, a faithful friend. Okay? So what if this year, everything that comes into our life, everything we assume is for our highest good? What if we no longer move out of the idea of good and evil, and we move into the idea that everything in our life is 100% here to bless us? We talked about trust last week. Can you see over and over again that as we greet life from this point of view, it actually cultivates higher levels of wisdom within us? And that some of us have been so afraid of life, so afraid of what's going to happen tomorrow, so afraid of what could be, so afraid of our retirement, so afraid of dying. I mean, pick. And the idea that your soul cannot handle, that your soul doesn't have the wisdom and the power to go through whatever life brings you is a huge misconception. I am greater than the events of my life. Together? I am greater than the events of my life. One more time. I am greater than the events of my life. I am wiser than the events of my life. Together? I am wiser than the events of my life. Everything in my life is here to bless me. Everything in my life is here to bless me. I claim it. Together? I claim it. That everything in my life is here to bless me. Yeah. Some of that. All right? See, what I want you to begin to see is that if we're going to thrive, we have to do it differently. Because if you put all your energy on the outer things, about balancing all the balls in the air, you never get to focus on the thing that matters the most, and that's your wisdom. That you have wisdom because you have God within you. And one of the greatest gifts of having a soul is that you get to access divine wisdom. And that wisdom is available to you about any situation. It's about any need. And you can go to it over and over again and ask. And that wisdom will guide you and direct you to your next level of good. And the question over and over again is, are you actually listening to it? How many of you know that from time to time you have wisdom that you just pretend you don't have? Because you want to date them anyway, right? Look at him. I want to date him, right? And then it's like the little voice in you says, no, 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 run, do not walk. And you go, but look, he's so cute and he smells good. Right? And it's like, oh my gosh, 15 minutes later, you're calling your friend going, how do I get out of this thing? Just saying. Al-Sharif, an 18th century Muslim jurist, said this: my heart is at ease knowing that what is meant for me will never miss me. Can I say that one more time? 8th century. Is wisdom all through time? Yes. We think we make this stuff up. 8th century Muslim jurist, my heart is at ease, knowing that what is meant for me will never miss me, and what misses me was never meant for me. Isn't that sweet? Whatever, let me read it one more time. My heart is at ease, knowing that what is meant for me will never miss me, and what misses me was never meant for me. You may have a feeling about that. You may wish it was different, but the universe is a just universe. And what is in your life is there by divine appointment. Now, does it come forever? No, it comes to pass. right? So when it comes to pass, do you hold on to it? Yes. No. Right? If it's coming to pass, what's it supposed to do? Pass. It's supposed to go right on by. So can you enjoy it as it's going by? Yeah, you can enjoy it. Wow, that's not mine. Or that was quick. I didn't enjoy it as long as I wanted to, right? But if you keep your focus back there, what are you missing? The blessing that God has for you right here, right now. That everything in your life, if it's coming into your life, it is there by divine appointment. Is that true? And we might be in resistance to that, but it's just true. We have to learn to listen to our soul. And we have to learn to listen to the signs. One of the things that's interesting, she talked about in the book, is that when the giant volcano hit Pompeii, that for 2 years, over 2 years, they had signs that there was a problem. They had earthquakes, they had smoke, they had signs that there was a problem. The dogs would run away. Now, if your dog is running out of town, have the good sense to follow it. Straight up. Straight up. In Hawaii, they say know where to go, where to be, and where not to be. And the whole thing is you follow the animals. If the animals are moving, they are smarter than we are. If you notice that the animals are all leaving the area that you're at, follow them. They will save you because they're smart enough not to believe you. When you tell them everything's fine, they're chewing the rope so they can get away, right? So over and over again, there's a wisdom within us if we will only listen to it. There's a wisdom within your soul that is free. It is 100% there for your good. If you access this and listen to it and put it into effect, you will actually begin to experience a level of wisdom that you always hoped and dreamed for. That you were not set in this world alone. God didn't say, good luck, I'll see you in 80 years. Right? God said, I'm going to be with you in every event. Just occasionally close your mouth and listen. And I will guide you and direct you in all things. And over again, when we come back to ourselves, because what's at the core of your soul? Spirit, God, whatever you call it. It's the essence. And so if you don't have a relationship with your soul, you can't get to spirit. If you can't have a relationship, if you're not dancing with your soul, I did a talk many, many years ago talking about dancing with the divine. And the whole premise of that talk was this idea that your humanness sometimes wants to pick the music to life. Is that true? And yet sometimes the spirit wants to change the music. And that we're doing this dance with this divine, and those people that seem to be the most successful are the ones that notice when spirit needs to change the music and don't complain about it or get off the dance floor. They keep dancing. They may say, well, I'd rather have the music be a little faster, a little slower, a little more, whatever. But whatever the music is, that's the music they're dancing to because they've learned to trust that the music of the divine is the music of their life. And over again, what I want you to see is that we don't really have the time and the energy anymore to argue with the divine. Because every time we try to argue with the divine, we're losing. So we're either going to get right with our own inner wisdom and the Spirit of God within us, or life is so much harder than it needs to be. Albert Einstein said this, intuition, not intellect, is the open sesame to yourself. Isn't that great? It's the open sesame. You know, Yogananda said this about intuition. Intuition is the soul guidance, appearing naturally in man during those instances when his mind is calm. Nearly everyone has the experience of incredible, incorrect hunches or has transferred thoughts effectively to another. The human mind, free of static restlessness, can perform through the antenna of intuition all the functions of a complicated radio mechanics, sending and receiving thoughts and tuning in to a higher level of experience. You know, at Steve Jobs' memorial, do you know Steve Jobs at his memorial gave Yogananda's autobiography? He wanted that available to everyone who's there. That was his request, that everybody at his funeral got a copy of Yogananda's autobiography, and this is what he says. The people of India countryside don't use their intellect like we do. They use intuition instead. And their intuition is far deeper than the rest of the world. He goes on to say, intuition is a very powerful thing, more powerful than intellect, in my opinion. It has the biggest impact on my world. So what I want you to see is that I believe that highly successful people learn to trust their intuition. Over and over again, that they know that there's some information that they're not going to get just at this level of the intellect. And if they want to be the highest level of success, they have to bring everything to the table, and they turn their intuition on so that they can access the mind of God. They can access divine mind. And they learn to trust that as much as they entrust their prophet statements. And I really want you to really check for yourself. If you're thriving in the world, you're listening to the deeper words that are going on within you. You're not just listening to the chatter of your brain, but you're listening to the level of truth that is deeper and is being spoken at the base of your soul. There's a study by psychologists, and I've given you their studies before. I love their studies. Martin Seligman and Michael Kahane wrote that there are many important decisions that can only be arrived not by linear reasoning, by intuition. And they go on and find these 8 points that tend to be in place when a decision is an intuitive based as opposed to rational mind. First thing they find in the first 8 is that it tends to be a rapid decision. When somebody makes a rapid decision, not always, but it tends to be that they're connected to their intuition, that it's not conscious, that they don't know why they're making that decision, but they know at a deeper level that that's the right decision. They use it for decisions involving multidimensional experiences, that your mind can only, or your intuition can handle multi-level of information all coming to you at the same moment, and your intuition knows what's the highest and the best. It's based on a vast storehouse of prior experiences. It has the characteristics of an expert, can easily or accurately be, it's not easily or accurately articulated afterwards, and often made with a high degree of confidence. That when you know you're making the right decision, you know that you're making the right decision. You just know it. You have a level of confidence in it. So how do we access our inner wisdom? Well, what I want you to look at tonight is that your wisdom will serve you when your wisdom knows where you want to go. That says want. Can you read that? So the first thing I want you to really look at is when you're clear about what you want, when you're asking people to pray with you, when you're really clear about the direction you want your life to go, your intuition will begin to serve you. Because it will actually reveal the path on how to get there. So the first thing I want you to really look at and ask yourself the question, am I really clear about what I want? Does my soul, does my spirit know what I want? Okay? Now, the second one is that we have to be willing to listen. Okay? This is where our prayer time, this is where our meditation time comes. That when we clear about what we want, then we ask the question, Spirit, guide me, lead me, direct me, and that we're actually willing to listen to what that is. And the third one is, it's simple, but we have to put it into action. Right? Faith is nothing without action. So what do you want? Listen for the thing and then act on it. So this is your homework. You ready? So tonight, I want you to get really clear what you want from this year. And I want you to trust the wisdom of your soul knows how to get you there. that desire is actually God-given. That whatever that desire is, and I guarantee it will not happen the way you want it to happen. Can we just all make a promise to each other? Tell yourself it will not happen the way I think it's going to happen. Together? It will not happen the way I think it's going to happen. It won't happen that way because your ego is not in charge of this. What you get to come up with is the desire, because that's actually God's desire for you. You don't even come up with a desire if you go deep enough. It's actually God's desire for you. So you have the desire. Right? And then you listen every day. What do I need to do today? Guide me today. Show me today. Lead me today. And then you actually have to put it into action. Because if you don't act from it, you don't build the faith to know that you can trust it. Right? Say you're looking for a new job. Right? And your intuition says, call Uncle Harry. And you say, why would I call him? I don't like to talk to Uncle Harry. Uncle Harry talks for hours. Why would I do that? I don't want to talk to Uncle Harry. And your intuition is call Uncle Harry. And you call Uncle Harry and say, you know, I was just met this guy who's got this position that would be perfect for you. And you go, thank you, Uncle Harry. But more importantly, thank you, God. Because over and over again, your mind's going to try to figure out how to get you what you want. That's your ego's job. Your ego is committed to you getting what you want, but it only has this much information. Your spirit has access to an infinite level of information. It can access the mind of God. And if we're living at 2%, and we're not accessing the other 98%, we're really missing an opportunity to be wildly blessed. So what do you want? Listen and act. Because we're at a critical time. We need to move forward. As a planet, we need to move forward. And as we learn to trust God, as we learn to access our own wisdom, as we learn to access actually the glory of God, life gets easier and easier and easier, and we live in the grace that has been promised to us from the beginning of time. All right, are you guys willing? Okay, let's pray. So I want you to just take a deep breath. And I want you just to feel that you get to have your desire. That your desire, your greatest desire, your deepest desire is truly God's desire for you. And that God is giving you that greater desire to move your life forward. And not only is God giving you the desire, but God's also giving you the path, the way, the means of accessing that desire. So listen. And then act. And over and over and over again, that's our system. You ask, listen, and act. And you watch as you become more and more blessed. That you live more and more a God-centered life. That you become happier and more fulfilled because God is blessing you in ways you could never imagine. So in all things, we look to God. And in all things we give thanks, and so it is. Amen.